Perfect balance is a myth that's making you miserable. Here's how to manage training, nutrition, and life without losing your mind or your relationships. In this video, I'll show you how to prioritize what matters and make more sustainable choices. Hi, everyone. My name is Paris Stu. They call me P2. I'm a nutrition and fitness coach, and I work with weight class athletes on performance nutrition. Quick note, I'm not a registered dietitian or a medical professional. Everything you're seeing in this video is from my experiences as a nutritionist and is for educational purposes only. In my opinion, balance is a scam. It doesn't mean having perfection. It means making conscious choices. And if you don't agree with that, I would love to hear about it in the comments. So how I perceive it, especially in the context that I'm coming from, in the world of nutrition and fitness, maybe you're trying to optimize everything simultaneously. Perfect training, perfect nutrition, perfect work, perfect relationships. And those four aside, let's look at the world. So maybe you're feeling guilty when life gets in the way of training or if you're eating something that's not planned. But at the same time, you're burning out because you think that having balance means not to compromise on anything. If you relate to that, stay tuned. We're going to talk a bit more about it. If you don't, fair enough, but I want to hear about why you don't. My perception of balance. It's not really applying the same amount of time or energy to everything. That's just not possible. It's like prioritizing consciously and intentionally based on the current season of life or what's in front of us. So, what that means in actual application is perhaps there are some weeks that training and our fitness programs and practices, depending on your sport, will take priority. There are some weeks that maybe work and obligations or school take priority. Maybe there are some weeks that family, friends, social relationships take priority. That doesn't mean that something else was not important. It just means that time, energy, and intention to make different choices to adjust to what's in front of us rather than trying to juggle perfectly. Because, newsflash, it's not happening. I may have tried to do this for the majority of my life. Did I crash and burn multiple times? Yes. Did I keep trying the same approach, thinking that it would not crash and burn? Yes. So here we are. Okay. A suggestion I have is to think of this as seasonal thinking. It's mid-September in Ottawa, Canada, where I'm recording at the moment. And I'm quite literally looking at the tree outside of my window, and I can see that the leaves are changing. Okay, obvious. Where am I going with this? Is that fall is a coming. Summer is ending, and so certain things are inevitable and they're shifting. So this is really applicable, especially for like field sports. We have rugby season, hockey season. If you are a combat athlete, it's not necessarily that structured. You have to create the seasons for yourself. Your training and nutrition are a little bit more of the focus. Not that they were an on-off button. We're not suddenly on a diet or off a diet, but you're shifting a little bit more, dialing it up a little as you want, if you want to say it that way. And then maybe you have to say no to something else. So social life might take a backseat temporarily. This is very different than that social isolation I was talking about at burnout. It just means that, hey, instead of being able to go out for dinner every night, maybe it's once a week because there are other things that are taking your energy and focus. In the off season, my training volume's less. I'm just going to do a little bit in order to maintain. But it's because, again, it's not an on-off button. We're adjusting the volume. We're turning the dials up or down. Then maybe we're prioritizing relationships and career while maintaining a baseline of fitness. And then we have the life stress periods. Perhaps in this particular season, training might become more of a stress relief versus performance focus. So it's not like, hey, I'm going to the gym to go get a PR. We're just showing up and we're doing the thing and we're going to leave and then go back to this thing I was dealing with. It's important to recognize all of this. Why? Because you can set more realistic expectations. To demand yourself to be perfect and to manage everything at the same time is just like an absolute self-sabotage. It's not going to happen. We cannot. Something's got to give. Maybe you can get away with it for some short period of time, but at one point or another, inevitably for any person on the planet, something is going to give. And so if we have the seasonal thinking approach, we're implementing it intentionally. And then Create minimum effective doses, or as I like to call it, the non negotiables considerations. What's the least you can do to maintain progress when life gets wild? Maybe instead of like training 7 days a week, it's 3. Maybe instead of training for 2 hours, it's an hour. Maybe instead of tracking all calories and all macros, you're focusing more on like, hey, I'm just going to hit my protein targets. Having this bare minimum, so the lowest dose, is a strategy to prevent the all or nothing thinking. That's not sustainable. What I don't mean is in season, I'm on, off season, I'm off. I'm going to go eat absolutely everything on the planet. And then I'm just going to, have this really rigid approach where I remove all junk food during in season. That's not what I'm saying. What I am saying is to have the bare minimum dose of maintenance. It is a very hard season of life. Maintenance is not particularly exciting. It's not particularly sexy. It's not particularly moving towards a very specific goal. And so it is hard to implement, but it is essential because the maintenance is what allows us to push the gas pedal, kick it up a notch. If you're like, cool, the competition's popped in, I'm going to pick up where I left off. But if it's an all or nothing, it continues that pattern into our training, which may or may not perpetuate injuries. That's not how fitness works. You can't just like not do anything and then come off the couch and go into competition. You're setting yourself up to go far more volume out of your capacity. Same thing with food, the diet or not diet, all or nothing, which is why building flexible systems is really, really important. It is important to have routine and structure and schedule, but having them too choreographed is just a recipe for disaster, because when life happens or something out of your control, you can't bend without breaking. So instead of having a perfect meal prep that hashtag meal prep Sunday or I'm a failure, it's like, cool. When in my schedule is it actually most realistic for me to go grocery shopping or order groceries? When is it most convenient for me to prep? Can I do it right after a grocery shop? Maybe, you know what? Friday afternoons are ideal. So I'm just going to start doing it Friday afternoons. And then I have backup options for when it's really busy. Perhaps I've bought in some pre-made meals and put them in the freezer. It has to be farm to table, and it must be like, does it though? Does it? Because if you can't sustain it and it's stressing you out, then it's not the right approach. What we want is a system that adapts to our life and not forcing it the other way around. And that comes with the next step is like setting boundaries and saying no to things that aren't working and not serving us. When we're talking about athletes and something specific, we've all been there where we'll pick training or gym over something at some point. If you're in the middle of in season or prep, yes, I have class to go to. Like my coaches and my teammates are waiting for me. And then you are going to train because you have a very specific goal. But if you're in your off season, you've hit your base minimum and your friends or family are having this event on Sunday, you're like, you know what? Great. Yeah, I'm coming. Or on Thursday, which might be a random evening. Normally you would be training. You're like, yeah, this is the time that I'm prioritizing the social relationships in my life. I'm going to go say yes to them instead of the gym. Essentially, sometimes we say no to social events for goals, and sometimes we say yes to social events for goals. The key is to be really, really intentional and recognize why you're doing that and where you're going so that there is no guilt or shame. I'm going to go put my energy and my focus and time into them now, as long as we're communicating them. And so it's not, again, an on-off button. It's really, really important to surround ourselves with support and people that understand, especially if you're a high-level athlete and you have very particular goals. Social support there is essential. And if you are living solo or you're living with roommates or family that doesn't necessarily understand and support you, like I feel for you, that's really challenging. So it's best to try and communicate it as much as possible and then to lean on teammates, coaches, professionals that can help you get that support system. Communicating like what's on your plate so that you can either delegate, deprioritize, or you can ask for support. And in that case, you recognize what to outsource or what to pivot. If you're looking and you're like, hey, I'm really stressed, but why? Is it because I'm trying to do everything at the same time? Okay, something needs to change. My mental health has crashed, or all my relationships feel really strained and hard. Like, what's happening? Okay, something needs to change. And then, even within the aspects of nutrition and training, If you're recognizing that, okay, it's just getting harder. Why am I not improving? I'm doing everything perfectly. Why is this working backwards? Why am I not sleeping? Why am I not recovering? Why am I stalling? Why am I plateauing? Something needs to change. Perhaps your approach is just far too rigid and there isn't leaving room for humanity. You're just trying to be perfect within it. Yeah. I relate for all of the above. And that's why I wanted to write this out again. It's like our personal diaries, sharing with the internet, knowing what's important to you, first and foremost. It's also no one else's responsibility to manage. And that's in all areas. For example, a thing I can think of immediately was when I was doing like fitness figure competitions. And this was really early on in my coaching career. I didn't necessarily have the tools developed to recognize perfectionism and my imposter syndrome and my anxiety. And I just needed to do like perfect for everything, which was putting me into disordered eating, draining everything, and just things got harder. I was not in the best headspace. And I remember feeling like annoyed about like, "Ugh, I don't want to, like, don't they understand that this is my goal?" It's like, no, not everyone has to. It's not your friends or family's responsibility. It's important to communicate and for them to hear you and support you. But like, if you didn't eat and you're hangry, it's not okay to go out being an absolute just jerk butthead to everyone around you. These are your choices. These are my choices. I'm going to own them and I'm going to be a better human to people around me and to myself. I'm not a victim because I have a fitness competition coming up. It is not this massive sacrifice that I am in a caloric deficit. If it's that hard and it's making me that crabby, then it is on me to change it and find other approaches. And that is essential to how I think right now. I have goals. I want them for me. You don't have to want them for me. You do have to support me to be in my circle. And I'm really grateful that my family, like, they don't fully understand when I wanted to, when I do rugby and then do like bikini competitions and then do Muay Thai. They don't understand some of the things I want to do to myself, but they're very supportive and they trust me and they respect me. And that's the important portion when it comes to balancing everything. Like, it's not up to all of us to own everyone else's choices or decisions, but there's a little bit of that, that taking it on and then relying on other people. And I talked about this in a different video. If you're doing it all on your own, you're setting yourself up to fail. And that's where I want to reiterate how important this is for maintaining balance and sustainability, because you can't keep that approach. Either you get injured, you burn out, your relationship with food suffers, your body resists, your relationships crumble, you lose your job, something happens. And I'm not saying this from negative lens, I'm just naming some consequences. Yeah. If you relate to any of those, or if I miss anything, please share in the comments. So let's review the action items. Identify your current season. What needs the most focus right now? Then create your bare minimum plan for training, for nutrition that you can maintain during busy periods. Lower the bar. It doesn't mean you're lazy. What we're looking at is something we can implement. Build one flexible system instead of a rigid schedule and communicate with the important people in your life about your current priorities. We're doing these choices with our nutrition, with our fitness, with our social, with our teammates. Like, all of this is essential for us to have that balance. From everything I mentioned, and the rest of this video is not a destination, but an approach. And we're constantly assessing over and over again because priorities shift. And as you move through your career, if you're an athlete, from if you start when you're young to amateur, if you want to take a professional elite level, your priorities shift even more. And then after that happens, you go to a different season of life and you choose to maybe retire from your sport. Then you're coming back, priorities shift again. If you choose that, hey, now I'm going to go start a family, and you were now entering where your priorities shift. And that is what we're doing in order to continue having balance. So if you are trying to create some sustainable strategies for yourself, that's exactly what I do with the Level Up framework. So please check out in the description box on how to work with me one-on-one or in the group cohort. Waitlist now available. So overall, in closing, balance is not about doing everything perfectly, but it is about making conscious choices that align with your priorities. Your health includes your mental well-being and your relationships, as well as nutrition and training. What's your biggest challenge when it comes to balance? Let me know in the comments and subscribe for more sustainable approach to nutrition and training. Thanks for your attention, everyone. Catch you next time.